going first?
I'll go first. Name, what do you do? Yeah, what's the idea here, right? Of course, we'll be delving into deeper thoughts behind each of those ideas, but then just to start. Okay, my name is Moses Manwal. I run a bunch of communities, and we have a platform. A whole platform is around community-based economy building. So it's a research project actually. We were supposed to launch it next year, but given the current circumstances, we have at least kickstarted the communities. The tech can wait, right? Like now we're trying to build the communities first, given the current circumstances. And Rome research is one of the tools that we use across communities. So what we are going to be learning today is kind of like a essence of all the learnings from building all these communities, right? So that we can collaborate better. That's it. All right. Next. Kunal, yeah.
Hi guys, this is Kunal. So I have many roles in my life. I am an actor and I am also a social activist in my own way. I have a NGO called Mango People, and we work towards sustainable solutions. And since past 3-4 years, we have been working in creating solutions for eco-friendly structures and also learning about how to shift base into a more ecological way of life. Grow your own food, harness your energy, and while been practicing these things, a lot of things come back to the urban scale. And past few months, I've been in the city only, and we are trying to practice few of these ideas at city level, collaborating with the societies, how to create waste management systems, and also guide them to create patches of food and small food for forest spaces within their society areas. So some of these activities happen, and otherwise we have a network of architects and enthusiasts who work towards sustainable solutions, and they also volunteer. Since this COVID situation has come up, so we thought that it's better to focus on this current situation which is in hand, and also apply a lot of that knowledge that could be used here. And a lot of people are coming with many ideas. So yesterday I collated all the ideas that we had collated and shared with the community here. And I'm happy to learn more and share more ideas and actually see these ideas come to light.
Okay, hey guys, I'll go next. My name is Zipul. I've recently graduated from business school. So, like amidst all the COVID jazz that's happening, I think I'll be the most affected because I don't see my offers rolling in yet. But that being said, before my business school education, I have done my master's in business economics from Delhi University. And then I worked 3 years, close to 3 years in a fintech space, in the hedge fund industry to be specific. With this project, I came across the website. I was following it for a few weeks, and then I found out that there's a volunteering space available. And then I was kind of researching, and because of my economics education, this area specifically appealed to me. I have a few big ideas in terms of like what's going to happen in a post-crisis world, so to say, where I'd like to contribute, or like if there is any other possibility that I can do, because I have a few months on my hand and I practically have nothing to do. So yeah, that's what brings me here. Very happy to be with you guys.
All right, Karthik. Karthik, you are muted. Talk now.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Brilliant. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Karthik. I live in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. This is my hometown, and I've worked across various industries: FMCG, direct selling. In the real estate for the last decade, nearly that much time, and I have a master's degree from Bharati University in business and economics. So I just, chanced upon this and thought how I could contribute. I've lived in various countries, England, UAE, and all that. So I thought, gaining experience from those things, and I could contribute how I could in terms of ideas and how to take it up further, because it is really hard. So I thought I will specialize in SME, MSME ideas, and contribute and take it further from there. So thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
Sundara Raman Narayanan.
Yeah, hi guys. Hope I'm audible to you. So I am here from Chennai and I work as a data scientist. So here is a small startup which is mainly on the fintech, and I work on that. And apart from that, I also take up other social projects, mainly where I can work on the data and then churn the data to see what kind of behavioral rules that we can extract out of it that can be implemented as a policy in the cohort. So that is really the thing that I was working on, and starting this code, I was actually collecting the data, and that's how I came across the website. Also, it was very impressive for me to see the leaps and bounds through which the data has been collected and the effort put into bring into a visualized lookup. So that was really impressive for me, and that actually triggered me to see how we can collaborate together and then take it to the next level and implement something that is better for the entire society community.
All right. Thanks, Sundararaman. So just to be clear, this is just part of the econ group within COVID-19, right? So we're not going to be talking technical stuff here. All right.
Thankfully for me.
All right, great. All right, Kishore, then Rani. Yeah, Kishore, yes.
Okay, so there is some problem with my camera. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
So I'm Kishore. I'm from Coimbatore. So I am just an economics enthusiast. I am not a economics graduate or someone who is. So I'm a technical guy, but who got recently interested in economics, and I go through things. Most probably I'll be a passive member here because um, I'm not up to you guys in this the econ area, especially. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're all going to be learning together, so it'll be faster. Okay. Rani.
Trust me, economics is not very tough.
Hi guys.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi guys. So that's with me too. I'm not a commerce expert or an economics expert. I again come from a business background. I've done my MBA in finance and marketing. Currently, I'm working with marketing, but my expertise is in HR and all related researches. So I've done a lot of intense study, at least years of study in terms of behavioral economics and all that. So that's how the efforts are.
Right.
So my intent was to, in fact, the two core focus areas that I wanted to get involved in was the basically the job economics that will happen after the crisis. And so that's how I intended to start off. But then when I came in here, I realized there's much more scope for our efforts, because if we can really channel them, we can take it to great heights.
Yeah. All right.
So that's
Great. So is there anyone from Covid19India.org?
I don't think so. I don't think he's joined.
Okay.
And that's okay, because since we have initiated, Hamir was supposed to join, but apparently he's not.
Right. Okay. So we are getting this recorded, so we can send it to him.
Yeah.
So I'm talking from Bangalore. Karthik is from Coimbatore. Sundararaman is from Chennai. Kishore is from Coimbatore. Kunal, where are you from?
Faridabad.
Faridabad. And Rani, you are?
I'm from Bangalore.
You're in Bangalore.
And I'm in Delhi currently.
Okay, but where did you do your master's?
So I did my master's from Delhi University, and I did my MBA from ISP Hyderabad. So I just came 2 weeks back home. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Vishal, are you
Is
here?
it Vishal? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Gurgaon actually. I'm currently working at American Express into finance industry.
Okay.
Lot of experience in predictive analytics. Kind of a technical guy. So yeah, Python, machine learning, these all things I'm good in. So yeah, I can contribute and open to contribute in any way possible. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. All right. So how do we start now? Should we go through the spreadsheet which has all the ideas, or should we start with the tool, which is Rome Research, and then start putting it over there?
Yeah, I think we should finalize on the tool, because what I understand is there's going to be considerable amount of collaboration required here, which
Yeah.
we kind of had a difference of opinion, me and Moses, saying that, okay, we should use Slack versus Rome. So
Cool.
yeah, so we can just evaluate how Rome Research works, and probably because what Slack does is it gives you the flexibility to collaborate and communicate, and we can even plug in tools, with APIs. So let's look at how it's working. So if Rome Research is okay, then we can go ahead with it. So if you can just show us how it works,
Okay.
and we can all collaborate together. Awesome.
All right. So of course I've used Slack, I've used Notion, so Rome is kind of like the evolutionary next step. Okay.
Okay.
But again, I didn't build it, so I'm just going to show it.
Yeah, I belong to the non-roaming days, so yeah, a little difficult for me to understand. So
no, the thing is, it's very intuitive. It's like writing. It's so okay.
All right, okay.
It's exactly like writing.
I only know of roaming, non-roaming those days, telecom.
இந்த கோயம்புத்தூர் குசுமை கொஞ்சம் கம்மி பண்ணீங்கன்னா
அது உடம்புல இருக்குது எப்படிங்க கம்மி பண்றது?
Okay, so this is how Kunal, Vishal, like we South Indians feel when you guys suddenly break into Hindi.
At least you understand Hindi, right?
No, we do, yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, it's
We'll
the
have
same
an
thing, like,
appearance.
for me, how you look at Rajnikant, that's how I look at your Shah Rukh Khans and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. We don't look at that.
Okay, so for you, how it's lungi dance, for me, I don't know, Sholay, Tere Paas Maa Hai, whatever. That's all I know. Right?
I think there's going to be healthy banter around.
I know.
Banter is always welcome.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Good. All right, so this is so Rome Research is they call it a note-taking tool for network thought. So this is built for your network thought and mostly personal knowledge management and personal task management, but we have kind of hacked it to use for community management. So community in our language is essentially a company. So if you can run a community, you can run a company. So if you can run a company, then project is nothing, right? So this is Quantum Computing India's Rome. So we usually start with why, what, how, when. Okay. So since this is all built around, as in this process is built around our product, which is Skills Chain, everything that we do here kind of gravitates towards skill. Okay, so that's why you find skills under what. But essentially what I'm trying to show is you can structure it as whatever you want, right? So two things to note here. One, what you see within this square brackets are called pages. So if I click that, it goes to a page. And every dot that you see, right? So that's a block. Okay, so these are the two building blocks. Nothing else is there. There's a page, there's a block. And the thing that connects these two things is called a bidirectional linking, right? So you can connect it both ways. So that becomes very powerful. And this is just another notation. I'll show it how it becomes powerful in a bit, right? So this is another notation to create a page. So Shadab, right? So we have process like every name within a project has a page like this. You have your basic details. So one page where you have all the contact details. So from a HR perspective, if you really think about it, it's one person's entire interaction with the company, right? See,
Mhm.
and you do to-dos, you task it, and then you put a start time, stop time. So you actually know to what extent, so how much of time has gone into each task level, right? It's insanely powerful if you really set the process right and you follow it. So Roam as such is just a tool, right? It's like any other tool. Like how you use it becomes very important. And I think that's why we have kind of cracked it, right? So this is quantum. This is to some extent profiles are being created for everyone. We are running a hack series over here, which is essentially to model volatility or complex systems of options pricing, right? So we are conducting hackathons over here, right? So we have two teams, Ironman, Captain Omega, because it's part of the same community. We didn't open it up. So it's kind of like the Civil War, right? Internal hackathon. So Ironman, Captain America. So much for creativity. Then we have, these are their hack series calls. So whenever we have a call, we note down all our tasks over here. So it becomes pretty easy. Okay. Then you have all your to-dos over here. Just before I get there. So what did we talk about now? We talked about pages. So your project names could become pages, right? So what we are talking about in terms of post for the phase 3, phase 2, all these things could become one project, one page. And within that, every block essentially is a module within the project, if you try to structure it that way. And within those blocks, you're going to have to-dos, right? So for example, if you look at this March 27, MSP to take care of MAG meetups setup today, right? So that's a task. And what does this tag mean, this March 27? So Rome, though you see all the shortcuts over here, this is built over time within this community, right? But Rome looks like this. So every day, what people like, if you go to YouTube and search for Rome related tutorials, you'll find this, because people are generally using just daily notes. They just log their daily notes over here, right? So this is our process of logging our daily work, right? So Moses sample, work log, start time, end time. And if you're having multiple sprints, then you put, hashtag sprint 1, hashtag sprint 2, yada, 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 right? So we have people, we have processes defined, and we are tracking the time through task management, right? And it's all happening over here. Now, the one thing that's missing over here is notification. Okay, so let's say I put up a task over here saying, conduct Roam tutorial for Mad About Growth team. Okay, and I assign it to myself and I tag it to me. It's not like I'm gonna get a mail. That's the one thing that's missing over here, because it's a pretty new tool, right? Like 3-4 months back only, it just got exploded. And now that people are quarantined, they're looking for ways to connect remotely, work remotely. This is picking off. So there's a hashtag called RoamCult. Check it out on Twitter. So like I said, it's like the evolutionary next step. If you can just show just one thing so that so there should be a pinned tweet over here. Yeah, so I was able to relate to this very well, which is, see, we are trying to collaborate over here, right? So we are all clear about that. So a creation usually originates as a thought, right? For an individual, it originates as a thought. And if you don't want to work on the thought and you want to be like self-satisfied, your creation that has happened in your brain, it stops there, right? You can just stop there. But the moment you want to collaborate with people, then you have to put that thought out, okay? And usually people put that thought out over a phone call, right? You have a thought, immediate thing is phone call. So we are directly jumping to audio, right? From thought, instead of going through network thought to text and audio, we are directly jumping to audio. That's why most of the problems arises, right? Like I say something, you misinterpret, you say something, I'm like, hey, is that a sarcastic thing? Blah, 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 right? So consumption is on the x-axis, y-axis is bullshit or biases, however you want to call it. So from thought to audio, if you jump, this much of bias get built in immediately, but you can break it down, right? So the next step, what usually most people do, what managers do, is essentially write it down, right? So they're trying to structure their thought, which is the text format. But there's a step before that. Before you even get to a structured thought level, there should be a network digital thought, which is a brain map essentially. So if my brain map is on something, a digital space, then you can literally see my brain, how it's functioning, how it's creating maps and everything, right? So if you look at, so Rome nicely does a graph overview as well. So the moment you start typing, it's going to see that, patterns are getting formed, right? Like blocks are getting formed, that's repetitive. Pages are getting formed, that's repetitive. So it forms a nice graph view of the same thing, which kind of gives a literal network view of your brain. Okay. So the reason why this becomes important is because you can collaborate at all levels, right? I'm a YouTube creator, you're a YouTube creator, they're collaborating, right? Then at the audio level, podcasting collaborations are happening. Image, Behance collaborations are happening, right? So if you look at it, it's becoming more niche, right? So now you have writers compound where writers are collaborating. But so the next evolutionary step is your network digital collaboration, which is Rome Research. And probably in the future, when Elon Musk Neuralink kicks in, I think you can like literally feel it, and you also think so. You're like collaborating at a thought level, right? But that's way far in the future. But like before we get there, I think Rome Research is one step towards that, right? So this is a very natural way of collaboration. Trust me. See, like it forms patterns like this, amazing patterns. So in fact, intro to quantum computing is connected to options primer. Options primer was mentioned on March 25th. And intro to QCI, Shadab is going to take that, and it's not one person's thought. That's why it becomes like, it's mind blowing for me, because it's not my brain. It's over here. It's like our entire community's brain is being replicated over here because we were able to put some structure around it. All right. So with that, I close my starting arguments.
Okay.
All right.
This is mind blowing.
Didn't sound like a lawyer though, yeah.
All right. So Rani is convinced.
Yeah, this is the last, because everything else I felt it was probably an extension of what Slack does, but this is amazing. What you just showed last.
This mind map.
And this is, yeah, the mind map.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because this is exactly what we're missing right now, because we have so many thoughts.
Exactly.
If you can see, as I was telling, we even kind of predicted the migratory workers issue, but we couldn't map it down, and probably, and that's why we couldn't predict it well enough. But otherwise, we have it all within us. So I think this really is good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so how do we start off? Let's then, Moses, you should
Okay,
probably
I know exactly the next steps.
Yeah, so is everybody okay with the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 hypothesis? Is that okay?
Even before that, is everyone okay with Rome?
Yeah, okay, sorry.
It's really cool.
Take some time to understand, go through it once, and see through it. So I have had an opportunity to work with some tech guys in past 3-4 months, and I don't know if that was the coincidence, and I was kind of preparing for this kind of collaborative environment today. So we have been working on Google Sheets, and the first step where I saw that Rome thing, and there was a smile on my face, like who, when, why, what, where, and finally how. So I've been working on a few of these tables. The stages part that you were about to go, we also went past from who, when, why, how, and then came to a point where how is the task, and the task will be divided into several stages.
Yes.
So maybe probably you can go ahead, and I can share about my how we work on those stages.
Okay. Great. Yeah. I mean, we haven't reached the stage level yet. We are still at a tool decision making level. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, can I share something? There's another collaborative small thing which I've created.
Right. Go ahead. So while he's setting that up, I'll just quickly tell you guys about the research that we're doing. So if you guys know about CIIE, this is run by IIMA. They recently came out with something called Bharat Inclusion. And for Bharat Inclusion, just check it out. It's a pretty cool thing for researchers, at least, which is talking about, like the name suggests, how do you include the tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, whatnot. Though there's no clear definition of Bharat yet, right? So they talk about fintech, they talk about gig workers and stuff like that. And we submitted our proposal. So the idea behind Skillschain is a tech product that comes out of an idea that in turn comes from a non-profit. So we are positioned that non-profit to these guys, right? And so we got selected. The official announcement will be coming like probably next week. Right now, given the current scenario and like how Rani was also talking about, which is this whole migrant thing happening, it might sound a little weird to say this, but I really think this is a great opportunity, right? Like now people have gone back to their roots, and we want to make sure that they have enough opportunities over there and enough revenue making potential from where they are working, so that whole migration doesn't happen, right? Urban migration.
I completely agree. Yeah,
Right.
I agree with
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
So it's a blessing in disguise, but we have to make this happen. We have to show them that, boss, you can make 40,000 rupee being in a town like Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu. Why do you have to come to Bangalore? Right? And if you come to Bangalore, be the person who fucking runs Bangalore. Otherwise, you're going to be, let go like this. They're going to use you and they're going to be like, okay, fuck off now. We don't need you. And then, like, what's the point? Right? So we have a great opportunity to tell the story of community-based economy, right? Like, it's not something new. Everyone has talked about this, right? Gandhi talked about this, sustainable villages. Everything has to happen within 5 kilometers radius. Like, so it's not something new, and not just at a economy level, or not just at this developmental economics, or like poor economics. We are not talking about that. If you really look about everyone has Visa, MasterCards, right? If you read the story about Visa, it started off as a consortium, like a non-profit consortium. Only then they were able to bring in all these banking organizations to be part of the consortium. And Visa was able, like, that book is insane. It's a book called One from Many, right? Like many organizations trying to create one brand, which is Visa. And this was written by D-Hawk, the guy who actually created Visa, right? And if you really follow how the template, he calls these organizations chaotic organizations, right? And he was able to build that when there was no technology in place like blockchain. And now we have something so powerful, but then we are trying to like bring it into our own control, which is the for-profit model that we have worked upon till now, right? That's why most of these blockchain products are going to fail, right? Because the whole point of reducing information asymmetry so that people can collaborate better, and the distribution of wealth is way more even. But for-profit companies, why would they understand that, right? Like we were building this project Skillschain in a different name under a big company, which is I can't say the name, but like they are technically India's biggest private employer. Okay. So we were building this product for them, but they couldn't see that. Like they couldn't see that in the sense they could see that like if they build this product and put it out in the market, essentially they are the middlemen. They are like taken out of the market, because what do? They source people, right? So when you make a frictionless skill movement, which is what Skillschain is, then essentially all the middlemen are gone. And then there is more distribution of wealth, right? Like, so that's why it has to be registered as a non-profit. It cannot be a for-profit company. Any blockchain product doesn't matter. Anyway, so much of Gyan now. Let's go to Kunal.
Yeah, so a small diagram which I was able to make on Excel only. So this is what I call as a co-work logic. So we have a situation and a problem, and we have certain solution ideas going on in our heads. And then we have our co-workers or collaborators, or I call them help buddies here. So then we come to a co-working platform. For right now, it's a sheet where everybody can collaborate at real time and put in changes. We have rights and permissions and everything. Then the every sheet would have a logic to it. So this sheet is an onboarding sheet for people or volunteers who wanted to join here. So help buddies, they sign up. Then there is a small induction, and so there are solution ideas, and then the solution ideas goes through a research logic, process logic. There are task sheets which are derived from it. We set up goals, KPIs. There's a schedule we attach to it, and finally we see an outcome. So here there's a small depiction of what I think is the research logic. So we research on the data or the content that we want to, we are talking about in each idea. There are methods of our research, and then there are tools. So what I understood is Roam is a tool which we would be using for our research or collaboration here. And then there is the analytics or the risks or whatever we want to derive from it. And then finally the communication. Yeah.
Clarification. So this is great. The tool that we'll be using will be a research tool. Here, whatever you're showing over here, this entire dashboard will be moved into Roam. Okay, you have a structure here, great. We'll copy the same structure over there, because you think about it, if you say your health buddies are co-workers, collaborators, right? Below that, if you put my name, what do you know about me in this sheet, from this sheet? What do you get to know about me? Nothing, right?
Nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. So that bidirectional linking comes into handy in Roam. So this structure is great, right? A little bit of one step is missing in the process, but yeah, we'll get there. So the tool that you mentioned over there is a research methodology tool. Okay, so let's say you're using system dynamics as a research methodology, then Vensim is the tool. Okay, and if you're thinking about multivariate regression analysis, then probably SAS could be a tool. Okay, so that's a research methodology tool. This whole sheet will go into Roam. Okay.
Okay.
We'll try to minimize even Excel sheet as much as possible, but then of course we would need it, for attendance, blah, blah, blah. I'll show you again.
The SAS you're talking about is statistical analysis of social sciences, right?
Yeah, correct.
Age old.
Yeah. It's like C or Excel.
And
it's gonna be there.
I'll just finish this.
I researched it long back, 2 decades ago. So
the stages that were defined in the Telegram group were 3 stages. I like to put them into these 5 stages. So we discover the problem, we design the solution, we develop the solution, we all finally we deploy it, and then there's a debug. So this cycle goes on and on for each idea, and this comes out with more detailed points here. And so that's the logic, co-working logic, which I'm trying to apply this collaborative work.
Can you show those 5 stages again? I mean, it's insane
sure.
to see all these things happening, because
So,
this is the time a techie is thinking about an econ problem. So look how debug has become a process, which an economist will never think about.
we go crisscross.
Yeah. Okay. But this is insane. This is lovely. Innovations.
But on an Excel, this is something which, this comes about. So we have these points which we want answers for, and these are the stages which we go through. And this metric, this table which would come about, this would give us all the answers that we have, what we are wanting from our solution idea.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is perfect. So all these things will go inside Roam as templates.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's perfect that we can, once we all get to, play around with Roam a little bit, 1-2 days, immediately we'll move this to template, and then probably in the 3rd day onwards, we can start working. That's what I'm hoping.
Sure. Over to your screen.
All right, perfect. So wait, we didn't get Vipul, Kishore, Raman's thoughts about Roam quickly, and then we can move on to the next step.
So I'll take my standpoint on. So what I have seen is that I have worked on both SaaS as well as on other Microsoft products. But the thing that caught my attention immediately in Roam is the network graph that it brought in. So
the what?
Multi-dimensional, the network diagram that
the mental map.
at the end, the mental map. So that was eye-catching, and it actually made me think that Roam should be the right tool to go with. That would be amazing to have a look into.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this 3 to 4 hour is my Roam time. I if you look at my Twitter feed, you'll see since the lockdown began, I kind of opened up my work schedule. So 3 to 4, I've been just teaching Roam to multiple people. So if you guys, but now I've closed it. Like if you go check out my Twitter feed today, I said like I'm closing this because we are going to be working on this. Okay.
It's nice. It's a nice tool actually.
It is.
Easy
It
to
is.
handle
It's just natural, man. It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
This is more like introverts social network. You can show your brain, literally, and then all this sapiosexuals on Tinder. This is the link that you give. All right.
Nice.
If you don't get all right turned on by looking at this, then probably we are not a match. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Vipul. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it makes a lot of sense. Like everyone said, so I believe in the idea of mental maps because that's how I think also myself, and the fact that like as a collaboration we can connect to each other maps as well as profiles and everything. I think it gives us huge capabilities, not just of like how we're thinking, but how other people are thinking as well. And like how like initially the first page that you showed was which was about like how, what, how, when, all of those things. I think starting out once we have that settled in the first place, it's like difficult for us to get distracted later on.
Yeah.
So I think in a lot of ways, I feel that makes for a really nice tool as far as our communication is concerned on a linear basis. Like we said, Telegram
Exactly.
works, and Rome research from a collaboration point of view makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm all in for this.
Cool. Vishal.
Yeah, I really liked how we traced a particular idea to the actual root, and yeah, this is a pretty a new thing that I saw that which excited me a lot. So yeah, we can definitely work more on this and collaborate more.
Cool. All right. So next step is to look at the spreadsheet, and then we'll try to move a little bit to Rome today itself. Okay. So can someone send me that link? It's in Telegram, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've pinged you.
Oh, perfect. Oh, if someone else has it open on their laptop, please. Let's save time.
Wait, I'll open.
Just share your screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Here it is. Yeah. Okay. So here it is.
Vipul, let me open.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right, great. I entered the form. Aditya's not there. I think I explained this a little bit, so we can skip that. This also, Ronnie. Anyone has to go into their ideas a little bit deeper now, or we'll directly go to that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 structure. And Ronnie,
How will you guys want to structure it? Yeah.
Ronnie, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've done is this is actually a marketing model that we follow, which I kind of have transferred here.
Okay.
So what, this is been developed by Ogilvy. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yeah.
So what they say is, yeah, exactly. So what they say is there are these 3 stages. So in this particular outbreak, and we need different strategies for each of these stages. So stage 1 is the immediate problem that we need to address, and which is critical to how effective stage 2 and stage 3 efforts will be also. Okay. So now our top, at least as of now, the top priority is to work on stage 1 according to me, and then stage 2 and stage 3 comes in, because stage 1 is basically all the efforts that we can do to minimize any kind of an outbreak, a further outbreak, or decreasing the flattening the curve, as we call it. Yeah. And stage 2 comes when the economy is recovering. So like the stage currently China is right now. So if you look at the China, the pattern of how the outbreak has phased out. China is coming back, and there is a lot of efforts going on for the recovery. For
if I can interrupt, not yet. China is not recovering yet, so
yeah, at least according to data. Yeah, I know that there is a lot of dispute on that, but
doesn't matter. China's record doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there will be a recovery.
Correct.
There will be a recovery. So, I mean, hoping that there will be a recovery, then we need to fasten it. Right. Our efforts, I mean, would have to contribute towards recovering faster, and that's the stage 2 problems, the solutions that we need to address. And the stage 3 is the new normals.
Right.
So, as you were saying, more localized consumption, right. Job opportunities and all that come in the stage 3 new normal.
True.
Okay. So what I've done is I have classified these problems into the different stages that they belong to.
Okay.
If you can see. Yeah. So kind of self-explanatory, because if, say, for example, a problem is, say, can you scroll up, probably in the first one? Yeah, so the phone survey developed to understand people who are coping up. So see, the coping up problem, health, mental health, psychological fallout is an immediate problem that needs to be addressed. It has far-reaching consequences. There could be huge, I mean, unprecedented deaths and other problems that can, I mean, there are people even say that there could be permanent mental damage because of the constant strain that people are undergoing because of this, the extraordinary news that comes in. So stage 1 is that problem, wherein, say, an example of a stage 2 or a stage 3 is loans. More the economic models come into effect more into the stage 2 and stage 3 problems. You see, stage 1 is more of tactical problems that we might have to address, wherein stage 2 and stage 3 is more strategic. So larger models, larger economic models, larger constructs will be
I have a question here.
Yeah.
If I may, the thing is, for example, if I'm specifically talking about stress levels that the SME, MSME, micro enterprises face today, and they might be able to pay their wages for the next month. So what happens is that stage 1 or stage 2 according to you?
So so according to me is something, that's what I was telling you, it's completely relative. What I was assuming is that a policy level intervention is always, it'll always take a long term for finding results. So
policy level intervention needs to happen now to mitigate this. If it doesn't happen now, it's going to be devastation. What you're seeing with the daily wages now, there's been there's no moratorium on the EMI, so you see a lot of things going around right now. If you see if you see that, and the next level, if you don't address this will go to the all laborers that is employing micro enterprises and all that, so they could be on the street as well. So I don't know whether it's going to be stage 1 or stage 2 according to you. That's
so that's something we can discuss and
brainstorm,
finalize on what. Yeah, brainstorm, definitely. That's exactly why I'm very, I mean, I've just put it there to just represent it. So probably the third point might be probably 2 is the gray area, wherein a third point was, if I'm not wrong, okay, skill management, for example, skill reallocation and something, and all of that would, according to me,
according to me, very, very important as well, because people do not have jobs to do now. So how are we going to align the skills?
So this again, so skill in itself will again fall into, I feel, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. There is this immediate requirement of occupying people, which is one part of it. But there is also once the companies start laying off, once they are broken enough to start mass layoffs, what happens to the the bigger community, probably the middle and upper classes of the society. So basically, so that's the whole idea. So that for them, that's when the stage 2 and stage 3 kicks in. So you're probably talking about the immediate loss of labor that's happening, which again,
immediate loss of labor, and then that is loss of labor that has been anticipated, say in a month X plus 60 days. So they can determine that
so
as
that
a
is the
cutoff.
thing. So there's timelines again. Since timelines are very, very critical here. So we are talking about, say, timelines of 1 week or 2 weeks, okay, which is stage 1.
Correct. So we'll have to address that and put it on that order.
So it is immediate. Like, for example, if we could have some way want the officials or predicted that there could be a problem, major issue of this labor relocation, that would have been avoided, and probably a lot of exposure to and the spread could have been prevented. So basically, the critical, at least in our efforts, the most important thing in stage 1 is to prevent further spread of the infected cases. That should be our first priority in stage 1. Because that is going to determine how fierce stage 2 and stage 3 is going to be.
True.
So that was my definition, at least for stage 1. At least to the context that we are talking about.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I understand definitely, controlling the outbreak and controlling the infection, that is obviously the first priority. But seeing the scenario which has happened in this time of the year, what is going to happen is already there is a shortfall of labor that happens during pre-monsoon period, where people go back to villages for sowing season. And now what I understand, they are not going to easily come back in before monsoons. So the timeline of people coming back and migrating back to the cities will be stretched for another 3-4 months, even if the outbreak is controlled we hope in coming 1 month. So that would be also another scenario to consider.
In the meanwhile, what are they going to do for their livelihood? That's a point to ponder.
Yes. Back home, what are they going to do for their livelihood? That's another question. But what I'm saying is, like, the agriculture is something which will be the core point of focus here, because people are already go back home during the month of May for sowing. A lot of people, they do. So so agriculture can be a major focal point to employ them or engage them. It's starting from this period only.
Okay.
Okay, so then what we can do is we can go by our ideas, at least the people who are here, because I don't know how much the other ideas might be propagated by us, but at least we can go through our own ideas and probably debate on what should be the first priority and what is not. Moses, what do you think?
Guys, I have first thing before we start discussing ideas. Okay, so if you're part of the economics team, I just want to kind of lay down or understand what thoughts you guys have in terms of what we're going to be doing. Are we going to be putting down papers in terms of policy implications and policy recommendations? Are we going to do some economic research recommending small groups of what they can do? Or are we going to go on ground and do something ourselves? Like as a team, what are we trying to accomplish here? Are these just like some 10-15 ideas that we are pursuing in silos and then putting it out there? So in terms of that vision, I'm a bit unsure of where we're headed. So that's something that I want to understand, because I think apart from that, it's just are we just discussing ideas that we would otherwise do as well? So a bit kind of confused
really
there.
Yeah, that's really good, Vipul. So according to me, what we are doing as of now is, we can all take our turns, by the way. So what we are doing right now is to create a system that predicts, that models and predicts the issues that are going to come, and give recommendations for policymakers. according to me, that's the whole purpose, whole focus of this. Karthik, probably you can put in your idea.
Yeah, because
Sure.
I think like this would be something that we have to like as a group be on board with, and then I think we can take different parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Karthik.
the whole idea is to analyze this current situation and formulate recommendations for the policymakers to see and decide what they want to do. And each of us can as in the sheets, they have from macro ideas you can go into micro ideas. For example, 3 months going back to the villages, what are they going to do for their livelihood? How are you going to how is the state or anybody going to mitigate that the revenue loss, because they will be out of
Okay.
jobs, they will
Yeah.
not know what to do. And is there anything that they could do in the interim so that they can get their 500 rupees for 3 months that's going to go and end in 3 months, right? So what are they going to do? Just taking an offshoot scenario from there, what are they going to do from there? So is the government planning on anything uh, to keep the jobs in the sea and other cities as well? So what do we recommend? So that is the whole purpose of this, according to me.
I also think that we should start thinking about NGOs more than government. I really don't know how this group is going to be connecting with the government bodies and how these policies are going to see the day of light. But NGOs which are actually working on the ground level, for example, Goonj is one of the NGOs, and when I have practiced self-sustainable living for months. You don't need money once you have food and few basics, right? So money is one thing which we always as urbaners compare to, because we buy our food, but they grow their food and they have their things there. What Goonj does is they make, rather than giving people money, they make packets of utility items which they take from urban locations, and then they give that as a daily wage. And the projects that are implemented are projects of rural development. So let's say if a road is being constructed and people are participating in it, so rather than handing over their money, they get a package of clothes, they get a package of utilities. If anybody wants, there's a marriage in the community, they would give all that is required for to conducting that marriage, that occasion. So in a way, such kind of ideas or collaborations should be taken into account. And NGOs, they have they work really on the ground level. I really doubt about government efforts.
Yeah, I agree with you. What we could perhaps take a model out of small geography, because you'll not be able to replicate this across the country, right? So you can broadly define for what the country needs to do at this point, and then model it around a geography probably.
I was also thinking of, since that came up, I was also thinking of how we can reach out to even corporates, because there are a lot of corporates who are going out, the large ones, that is, who can sustain all of this, but who are going out in terms of throwing around resources for this and funds for this. So even that's one channel where we can look at.
On that note, Adidas in Germany wouldn't pay the rent, so yeah, that could come in India as well.
Yeah.
If you had read, yeah.
Acha, guys. All right. So, see, I think we are directly getting into the leaf level. We are still at a forest level. Okay, you data scientists. Okay. So the good question that people ask, well, why are we doing this? I really like this. We're doing research. That's the now. Okay, the output of that could be anything. It could be a video also. It could be a TikTok video. It doesn't matter. Okay. How are we gonna reach to them? We'll get there. Right now, we are there. Right. Like first we have to dig. Then only we can bury a person.
Yeah. Exactly. You're talking Keynesian economics. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm talking Vadivelu and
Hey, Keynesian economics is the same thing. Yeah, dig wells.
Okay.
Oh, ma.
All right. Okay. So all I'm trying to do is see, this is coming from research. Okay. This is something called public impact matrix. Okay, so there are 4 stakeholders in any place. So there's an individual, there's a group of individual, which is the collective, which is the society or community, however you want to call it. Let's bring in this terminologies back. Okay, then the government or the state, and then the markets. Okay, these are the 4 things. So a good solution should address all 4 things. Okay, at least keep in your mind while you're addressing a problem. That's what public policy teaches us, which is different from B schools, which is not talking directly about market. Right, fuck everything else, focus on market. Right, we're trying to do something different, which comes from, I never thought I'll be using all these frameworks, but yeah, here we are. Right. All right. So now, usual thing is for a person to sustain herself, there's a financial and a social well-being, right? Now, this framework I'm taking from our own proposal to this IMA thing, okay? So overall well-being of a gig economy worker. Now, gig economy worker, I'll send you these guys. I mean, I think I've already done that. So we are.
Yeah, it's been shared. Yeah, we went through it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we all come under gig economy. Okay, Vipul, if you don't get a job, fuck jobs. Like jobs are gone, right? You're gonna become a gig economy worker. I'm a gig worker, right? So people, and right now the Indian government has something called OPCs, 1-person companies, which is way different from your sole proprietorship because your liabilities are limited, right? You don't have to form a partnership. You can be a single guy with your limited liabilities, right? So it's insane. So the government has already thought about that. So we have to leverage on top of that. Okay. So what I mean by gig worker is everyone. So in the top, if I scroll down, like we have substantiated that like 92% of Indian population is gonna become a gig economy worker. Okay. Now this is coming from books like the Third Pillar, the books like Jobs Crisis in India. So like I said, we have done enough research, right? So either we can like start from there or go back and fight about all those things again. That's a choice that we have. But right now, since I have the mic, I'm gonna go ahead with my choice, right? But like, hear me out, right? So there's a financial well-being, there's a societal well-being, right? The social net, and there's a community well-being. Okay. Now this is what I've broken down here like this: financial and social or mental well-being. This kind of captures all the problems that we have put up right now. Okay. Now there is a time frame again involved, right? So usually we stop at financial and social, but now since like things are different, either we can have survival as itself as a separate thing, right? Given the current context, okay? Or we can remove it and say anything that comes under financial short term, social short term comes under survival, which is phase 1. That's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It's you can put it under time, but time alone cannot be the factor. Time related to what is it affecting the individual for, right? Is it going to give him more money? Then it becomes financial short-term individual. What does he need now? He doesn't need anything, right? He needs food. He needs shelter. So that's why I put survival as a thing, okay? In that, we can't really model anything because I mean, this is my opinion again, right? Because the data is too cumbersome. It's very difficult to collect. And right now, all the NGOs like Goonj is doing it, right? Like we cannot go and mobilize the same amount right now. So let's not even get there. Like I'm a research person. I'm going to do the research based on the data that I'm able to collect, right? So let's go from that angle. So if we can structure these problems that we have, or even fuck that, right? Like think about design thinking. You look at a problem, okay, this is the current universe of the problems, and then we throw everything onto the board. Let's see under which category it falls, right? I would suggest like this will be a good way to look at the overall picture of the problem. And then based on our skill set, we can pick 1 or 2 because of course we can't solve every problem. So we have to smartly decide totally, first of all, how many people are going to be involved. Is everyone going to be working on the same problem? Those all things again we'll discuss at a later stage. Right now we are still at problem sorting stage or problem choosing stage. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. So if you guys can now tell your problems, then we'll say, is it affecting the individual? Because what Rani is talking about is more from an individual perspective. What Karthik is talking about is more from a MSME perspective, which is the market perspective, right? So if you can put it like this, then like we have some structure to fight about at least. We don't become like this fucking Republic news hour.
Yeah, I'll keep my points from NGO and social perspective, and also from the idea of sustainability. But now, when the masses are back home, so they would need a lot of points on sustainability and rural infrastructure and rural thought process. So yeah.
Okay. Right. So perfect. So when we look at a problem, you can bring in that perspective there. Great. I can bring in market. I think Karthik also, even Rani also.
Yeah, sure.
Individual, of course, we have to think selfish now, and we'll think like from a gig worker's perspective. Is it okay? Like everyone said okay, except Sundar Raman and Rani and Vishal. Kishore.
No, I think this is a good way to think about the problem. At least we'll know which area we're solving for or which problem where it relates to. So exactly, like this is the kind of frame that I was also looking for, so everyone knows where exactly they're making their like level of impact. So yeah, makes sense.
Okay, great.
The framework is good for me too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it structures the way we think. It is good.
I don't want this to become yet another like everyone is like, haha, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
I
I don't usually
point.
try to force things, but then like we don't have time, so I'm like, okay, this is the framework. Now tell me whether this is good or bad. Right?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
I feel that instead of debating about the structure and other things, let us debate about the problem that we will solve and then get into what are the issues that we will face here. And how
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
solve them.
So
correct.
we should start debating about the problems before. So we are all yours. So don't worry.
Okay, perfect. All right. So now, why don't someone read one thing from here, and then we'll try to put it in sheet 2 as to where does it fall into. Can someone read the first problem or solution? Wait, okay, I can do this. Combination of online and oh, this is a very interesting problem. Okay. Okay, so now everyone knows the context of the first one, which is essentially the mental health thing, right? So it falls into mental health thing. Now, this is short term or medium term is the question. Okay, I would still say medium term because short term, I'll tell you the solutions that are available to people. If that hasn't reached people, then an information dissemination problem. We cannot do anything about it. Probably we can share it to our friends. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do now, right?
No, I've got Aditya to speak to Krada here and try to get some samples rolling. So that's already initiated. So there's work going on there.
Okay, I'm trying to put into a structure. Okay, where does it fall into that problem that we are trying to address? It's a mental health problem for an individual person. Of course, it's everything is going to affect everything else. Okay, let's be very clear.
Cat 1 for me.
What one?
Cat 1, yeah, falls into stage 1. Yeah, you should address it. Nip it in the bud.
Where does it fall into? Individual, social, mental, medium?
Individual.
See, I'm trying to say, I hope others are getting it, right? So let's say I'm calling this idea entered as B2. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to put the problem there.
Correct.
Right. So what Aditya is talking about, is it an individual? See, it's a 3H3, right? So it's an individual problem that's gonna affect his mental health in the short or medium term. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
So that's what all the problems from the previous sheet has to be put into one of these structures here. Then we will prioritize.
Okay.
Okay.
Moses, at least in India, it's even a short-term problem because we really do not have the systems for mental support and all that. So I feel it.
Right. So I was gonna say there's a PDF of all mental health professionals in India who are willing to pick up phone calls for free, and they have slotted their times. Okay. 10:30 to 11, these many people are available. Okay. This information has been released by the government, and there is another thing in work, so I'm part of this team called Corona Warrior. The Labor Department asks for volunteers, blah, blah, right? So basically our job is to again do the same thing, okay, which is to talk to these people for quarantine. Okay, so there is technology in place. So there's a tech, you must have seen that, right? And Karnataka every 1 hour, the people who are quarantined are supposed to take a selfie and send it back to the government. The mobile app built by the government. Okay, don't ask me questions about data privacy and all. Nothing like that is there. Everything is going to the government. Okay.
We'll lose that after this.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. I mean,
Yeah.
well, let's not talk about that. Not on
Yeah,
that.
forget it. Yeah.
Okay. So my point is, technology is there. Okay. There's a way that the government is making sure these people are quarantined. There's a way that the government is making sure. So for each 10 people, they have put one health inspector and one police constable. Okay. And 10 such groups come under one person like me, the so-called corona warriors, right? So we are supposed to oversee all these 100 people and ideally talk to them, right? Like like I talk to like 3 people one day, 4 people next day, kind of like that. I schedule like that, right? So I know it's very different from talking to a mental health professional, but I'm saying these are all the things that are already available. Okay, if we can mobilize to some extent like this big, and we are researchers, right? So we have to think about our capacity, what we can do as well. So maybe if we can show the long-term effects of this lockdown on people through some research, and then initiate some kind of initiative through the Ministry of Family and Home Affairs, then we are talking about medium, right? So that's my confusion between short and medium. Okay, so yeah.
I think as far as short term is concerned, that's something that people who have, I think, NGOs or resources at their disposal can do that.
Correct.
Yeah, so we can't take care of short run. What we can do from a short run perspective is like research about medium run and long run and what are going to be the implications, and then ensure that we get the resources of people who have the resources at their disposal. We can tap into them. So I think short term also, like there's definitely an ideal scenario that we want to be in, but the fact of the matter is we are not at that position to make changes at a short-term level. So I think medium term and long term should be a primary priority.
So we don't need to make changes. We need to suggest people, right? So which means that as if you go from the research concept of thinking, then we can only tackle issues medium and long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's precisely what we are trying. I mean, what at least I'm trying to kind of insert.
There are
Moses thinking I was trying to say this 15 minutes ago, guys.
there are short-term solutions which can be handled at local level.
Yes.
Me and my family, we are involved in local community activities. There's another NGO called Banwal Welfare Association, and there are a lot of blood banks and food langars, or you can say, which have been organized for years. And now, again, because of the problem where a lot of ration shops are closed, and also people are not able to go out. So and there are so many elders who are kind of homebound. So a kind of a delivery service is being offered. Food is free, and food packages are being created and they are being delivered. And so it started off on a personal level, but then the local administration also have suggested that this team has to make 100 packets every day, lunch and dinner, for the locality. And now the registers and data is also getting maintained here locally. And so there are short-term problems which are addressed, which can be addressed, and more such groups can be created with once one model is satisfactory, or like how it can be done, following social distancing and hygiene practices. This can be brought about.
Right. I'm just trying to read the 8th point in this, right? So where we talk about a boundary, I guess. Yeah. A group of economists and enthusiasts have started to have discussion regarding several questions, blah, blah, blah. Try to showcase the economy, that's all. Also same page. Okay, sorry. I thought there was some boundary mentioned as to like rebuilding.
No, it's not there.
Okay. Like Kunal was correctly saying, yeah, short term can be solved at a community level only. Yeah, local level. So
communities need to be, there's also a need of this awareness that communities can, create such kind of environments in their own societies. So I'm talking about like individual RWAs. They can be targeted and they could be understand. And there, once a RWA is logged in, like everybody's in within the society. So there is no an extreme danger that some infected person is coming from outside. So a lot of community work can happen within that RWA. So now what RWA needs is a solution idea where they can start creating and collaborating at their society level. And
okay, you have to join today at 9 to 10. We are doing something called Better Kormangla. We are structuring room for ward number 151. Okay, you can follow the same template for your welfare associations, right? So the template is still the same. And it's the same tool. Okay, so if you're free, join at 9 to 10 today.
Yeah, sure.
Although
it's Ramayana.
I think we should now drill down on like final structures. I think we can create a Rome research a mental map of what we've discussed, because I think as far as like fitting the ideas into the framework is concerned, I think we can do that online. We don't need to be on a call for this. At least like we can, there are 40 rows. I think each of us can take 8 rows or something like that. And then we can paste it depending on our, exactly. Depending on our understanding, we can put it into our.
So you put your idea into a box here.
Makes
Let's
sense.
do that.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Makes sense. And because I think from there we can take in.
I wanted some yeah, Kunal?
Yeah. We collated a lot of ideas, and because it could not be put in one box, so I created another sheet and shared with the group yesterday. And
yeah, we saw it. Yes, I saw it.
Yeah. So I think I have a lot of work to do to create all these boxes.
Yeah, but the point is we have to. This is the core philosophy of economics, right? To use our resources in an efficient way, right? So if there are only 8 people, we cannot fucking solve everything, man. We have to take one problem and do it properly.
Yeah, I'll add to that philosophy.
Yeah.
Moses has everything figured out, huh?
Well, I've been fucking up for the last 3 years to tell this to everyone.
Yeah, so let's.
Everyone is listening to me. So, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, the point is, it's just that we have been doing this for quite some time, right? Like, if I just stack up all these things that we have been reading just for this problem, I would have gotten
I respect that.
my master's. Now. All right, boss. So, Vipul, what you said is right. But my only concern now with respect to that is if you look at here. So, for every project, I create a separate Gmail ID, and that has its own profile on my browser, and everything happens over there. Okay. So, if you're going to do something like this, so now this is mad about growth. Okay. So, so this will have its own Gmail ID, and the ROM is built on this Gmail ID, and that this ROM is given then edit access to 4 team people.
Okay.
So my simple question now is, so this is how you share it, right? Who are all the editors? Who are all the readers? And you can keep the entire database private. So only these 6 people have access to it, right?
Okay.
You can have page level permissions also. I don't want to confuse us, right? So we have to pick one Gmail ID, and with that Gmail ID, then we can create Rome. That's why, because if I create it, then the team is dependent on me. In the sense, if I delete it, right? If I'm the owner of that database, then it's not a right thing. Okay. So that Gmail ID should be the owner of that database. You get what I'm saying? See, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. See, even Moses sample is just an editor inside Mad About Growth's database, right? If I log in through Moses samples, this particular thing, I won't even have this access. See.
Do you think that we can ask the COVID guys to create like an econ group for us? We can use that ID to create a central portal.
Yes, I think Rani is in touch with them. See, I don't
if that's possible,
share thing, right? This is because this is Moses Sample's Gmail ID, right? Whereas this was Mad About Growth's Gmail ID. You see the difference? Huh.
Yeah, I see that. I'm saying that like you have mad about growth Gmail ID. If we
Yeah,
can
we
get the
need one
COVID,
for COVID, correct.
yeah. So I think they have a central place, and then we can add ourselves within that group. So I think Rani, if you can check with them, that's all right. If that's not possible, if it creates so much issues, we can just create a Gmail ID and keep it amongst ourselves, so that like more than one people have access, and at least we can get the work started like on Rome research for the time being.
Okay, fine. I'll check with them.
Okay, so great. Now we have a to-do. Perfect. Now I'll show the power of Rome. Okay. Oh, by the way, this is Zoom call. You guys can go through this if you wanna geek out. Okay, that should be okay. Wow. Covid-19 India economics. Okay. So if someone is creating a Gmail ID, if you can create with this name, it'll be great. Okay, so here then I usually do attendees. Okay, but I'm not gonna create because this is my personal room. I don't want to create pages for all of you. But this is just to show the to-dos. Okay, so then we usually do next steps, and then we say check with COVID team, right? And then ideally I would have done like this, right? Then the COVID team, let's say, has who's part of COVID's core team? Does anyone know? Okay, let's say Rani is part of COVID's core team and Karthik is part of, for example. Okay. Now these are two people who are part of that, right? So from here, I can just open that up in the sidebar. So, right? So it's in front of you. I'll show you. So check with COVID team to create a. So this is what I meant. It's exactly like just talking. Okay, you're just typing, right? You just talk that Rani is gonna check with that, right? And I'm gonna assign it to Rani, and I'm gonna say this has to be done by tomorrow. Okay, and then I make it into a to-do, right? So what will happen is the next day. So March 31st daily notes. We still have only till March 31st. So just to show the power of that, I'm gonna move this to do. Let's assume that this meeting happened yesterday. Okay. And this was done. So now if I go to, right? What, man? Oh. Yeah, because it's automatically taking. So either this is another problem with Rome because it takes time to load because it's a DB, right? Okay. So I can select a date picker and I say today. Okay, see, this is what I wanted to show. See, today, which is March 31st, if you just click on daily notes, this particular to-do item has popped up because it's referenced to March 31st, right? It's tagged. Now, the other power is, now this is a to-do, you see that, right? Now, if I click that, this becomes a done box, okay? So what we usually do is, as a process, we make all these to-dos into a separate page itself. Okay, we should call it inbox is a better name. So we call it inbox, and then let's say right? So all these to-dos, then I make this to-do into a shortcut. So it has come to the left corner, right? So as a process, what we'll do, every person checks into Rome on a daily basis, looks at their own to-do. So they can go there and filter by their own name, right? So Rani, that two to-dos for Rani. So you can see what she has to do, when she has to do, that's all. Okay. So we can
Okay.
split tasks like this within each of those projects. Okay. Anyway, so we haven't started structuring it. We'll probably do it tomorrow, same time, 3 to 4. But by tomorrow, we should have our Rome setup, the Gmail ID setup, Rome high-level structure setup, high-level vocabulary put up, because it's very important that we stick to the same vocabulary. I'll just quickly show one thing that has good vocabulary. So, see, this is the vocabulary that me and my co-founder follow. Okay. Yes. Sorry. I'm going to this. Okay. So we see this to-do that I just explained it to you guys, evolved after like 3 months of using Rome, right? So what should be done, cleared as a deliverable, blah, 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 right? So now it is becoming natural to me. I just went there, started typing, assigned to a person, and I made sure there was a deliverable, clear deliverable, check with COVID team is the deliverable, right? So she can clearly tick it. Or if you say create Gmail ID, that's another deliverable, right? So we can go down to that level. So then these are the process items, right? So our work hour starts, meditation. So then this is the process, right? So every hour, first 10 minutes, Moses and Paul will look into decisions. Now, decisions is something that we came about as a process because we were talking so much. Like, hey, should I do this, do that? Not. I'm like, hey, just 10 minutes every hour. I'll just go to decisions. If you tag anything to me, I'll go there and type it. I'll say, okay, this is seen. So this all evolves again. Okay. See, initially we just started with decisions, right? But then once I look at the decision, how do I make sure that Gaurav knows that I've seen it, right? So if discussed, then put it under appropriate buckets, either proposal or enhancement or bug fixes. But if no other to-do is there, then I'll just say, okay, seen, discussed, done. We'll finish it off. Okay. So again, these are all processes. This will keep evolving. And by the way, for project managers, there's Kanban as well. Okay. Inside Rome. Kanban, are you guys aware of Kanban? So Kanban is a project manager.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect. Thanks. Can you explain?
So yeah, Kanbans are used for process mapping. So we can say generally, if you're looking at, say, it's a popular tool used in Six Sigma. You've heard of Six Sigma, right?
Yeah.
So say there's an input to a process, there's a black box, there's an input, there's an output. So I don't know how that is applied here, but yeah, that's what Kanban is. And optimizing each of these inputs, processes, and the output is what Kanban is all about.
Okay. So now, how will we use the same process here? Kanban is a framework again, it's a tool, right? How do we use it for our own thing? Again, process and vocabulary. Okay, so within our Mad About Growth, we look at any project as it's an awareness phase, acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, right? So this is a MAG dashboard, this is a GOT dashboard. So this is all Kanban boards. Okay, so how will it help us specifically is what Kushal was showing, right? So he had the research process, right? So we'll put, okay, small, yes, yeah. So let's say research problem selection, okay. And then inside that I can say, let's say problem one, that's problem one, problem. So which are all the problems that are in still research problem selection phase, right? Then we can say data collection phase, or sorry, the next step would be ideally research model building. Then the next step would be search making. Okay. And research model building, you also have hypothesis formulation, you have whatever. Sorry, let me not go details. Okay, so what I'm trying to show is the blocks that Kushal you just showed on your Excel sheet, it will come and fall here. Okay, then if
Kunal.
I also assign this, see, this is the power of this, right? I can assign this to Moses sample and I can make this into a to-do and everything is visible like this. They are still formatting. So, sorry about that. But the point is, you see a visual representation of like the complete project, what stage, what particular task is in at any point in time. Okay. So that's how Kanban can be used for our stuff. Okay, so we'll get there. Okay, don't get paranoid, nothing. It's just English, nothing else. Just English and a little bit of common sense. Questions?
So are you going to set up a page for on this, or who is going to start that Gmail account? Any
Ronnie.
takers? Ronnie.
Yeah. So so that's what I'm gonna talk to the team, and so let me just clarify. I'm gonna talk to the team for an exclusive account for COVID economics at their this thing, right? Okay.
If it's
so that's
otherwise a normal Gmail ID, we can create and we can go ahead. Okay.
Okay.
They don't want to create another whatever. If it's hosted on Gmail, it's another $5 to them. Why even spend that?
Yeah. So
Makes
I'll
sense.
just yeah. We'll do that. So and not just that, even we can even add one of them. So I don't think creating our own Gmail IDs is a problem.
Correct.
We can let them shadow us. I mean, if Hamir can be added as one of the participants.
True.
And that should do it.
Correct. Yeah. Buy-in from
So
them.
So what is that we have to do, Moses?
No.
Can we use our own Gmail ID?
So it's better to get it clarified from them how to go about it. If they say, okay, go ahead, you do your own thing, then we'll create our own thing.
Okay, no. So my question is that when you are tagging a person here within Rome Research, is there it'll be tagged to, or you're just creating these profiles within Rome Research? Is it?
Yes.
I didn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Show and tell. I believe in show and tell. Okay, see, this is a template that we follow almost in every community. What are the basic details? So this will have one place where all my social media is there, all my contact detail, everything is there. Okay. It's okay as long as this is not public, right? This is within the community, so this is totally fine. But this is where skills chain comes in. So when when our product is ready, MSP will just have his skills chain profile over here, and all this thing will be over there. So it's pre-vetted. Right now, I'm just saying all these things, right? How do you trust that what I'm saying is true? Right now, because it's a community, that trust is already established, right? But the moment you open it up to public, then I don't trust you. So we need a blockchain, some verified profile should be there, essentially. So in our case, we do a background verification. So any profile on skills chain is background verified. So you know if Moses Sampal says he is this, you know that's verified. And you can go and check it out as well. Okay. So we are not getting there now, right? But now, to answer your question, yeah, like Rani, you correctly said, we are only creating profiles here.
Okay, wonderful. So it is, since I come from the Slack background, I assume that we have separate Gmail accounts that get linked and great. Yeah. So is everybody else also clear of that?
This is just a template. See, I've given a template like this. Do not edit.
Yeah.
This template changes based on the community. So this template, we can also decide what has to be there, what is not required.
Okay, great. So what are the next things to do, Moses? Other than,
that's
so that we can wind it up.
As of now, because if you get clarity on that, immediately we can start, like we can schedule the next call. We can all be here. And then with that Gmail ID, we'll start creating. I'll show you guys how to create everything. So you can also use Roam in your personal things. Okay. It's a very powerful tool. I strongly suggest that you start using it. And this is a good experience.
I just saw, good.
It's very helpful, man. Yeah, very helpful. It basically like frees up your mental space. Again, this is a tool. How you use it, like what frameworks you use,
It's up to you.
that you follow, it's up to you. Yeah. So most of the things, the to do and blah, 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 that has come from something. If you go into the Rome cult link that is sent in, yeah. If you go there, you'll see this is all coming from one framework called Getting Things Done, GTD.
Yeah, I'll have to do more research on Rome now. Rome
Rome is
research.
a tool, but how you use it, that's the next level, right? So the framework, the process that you have put here is essentially coming from something called GTD, Getting Things Done, right?
Okay.
So I open up Rome just to get things done. Like whereas the rest of the world is still using Rome to store their personal knowledge. They're using it as their personal wiki. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh.
I'm just saying it's way more powerful than that. They're not aware of it yet. Maybe the founders are aware of it. Yeah. So if you go to Rome cult, no man, it's okay. That's enough Rome for today. Okay.
We're not going to roam anywhere now. We can't roam anywhere. That's done now for 20 days.
Coimbatore thing, no.
It never goes, man. Trust me.
I know. I studied at PSG, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, guys. So Rani, it's on your plate now.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll get that done. Probably in a few hours, you should be getting the Gmail ID. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice meeting you guys. It's an honor.
Nice meeting as well. Yeah.
It's an honor.
Kunal, you're doing a great
job. It was
job.
pleasure. Yeah.
Carry on.
Bye, guys. Nice meeting you all.
Okay, guys.
Nice
See you
meeting
tomorrow.
Bye-bye. See you. Yeah. Bye.
And by the way, before we leave, can someone post what is it that we do?
Can someone post?
What is it?
Can someone post what is it that we are going to do for tomorrow based on the actions that we have collected in today's thing? At least a high level thing, we can capture it somewhere and you can paste it somewhere, right?
Yeah.